Well, to shed more light on the sideline meetings by Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri on the 76th UN Secretary General session, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Ashraf Singer, Professor of International Relations. Good afternoon, Dr. Singer.
Good afternoon.
Well, Dr. Singer, could you give us an idea or your insight concerning the importance of the sidelines meeting that was by Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri on the sidelines of the 76th United Nations General Assembly session?
Yeah, this is a great session that, Minister of Foreign Affairs Sameh Shukri gave his speech here in New York. The most important, really, meeting with the Secretary of State, the United States, Anthony Blinken, and they discussed, the most important issues between United States and Egypt, and the way we should really tackle, I would say, the new issues, sometimes, right between Egypt and United States, particularly the human rights and the stability in the Middle East. So on that side of the human rights issue, Egypt followed this constitution, and the President Sisi with a lot of initiatives to protect the human rights of the whole Egyptians, and Sameh Shukri really clarified that clear line between human rights and threats of the rights of the Egyptians. If some terrorists or some bloody guys need really to use the umbrella of human rights, just to protect their wrong actions against Egypt and its security.
Yes.
And Shukri actually asked from the Secretary of State that Egypt and the United States, if they would like really to develop, I would say, a new step towards more cooperation between the two countries, the U.S. should really give some insight and some, I would say, clear understanding about the threats that really facing Egypt, like, the Renaissance Dam, and it is, sequences that Egypt asked Ethiopia many times should really follow, like a common agreements when Ethiopia really start to fill the dam. So U.S. should really give some pressure on Ethiopia to create a stability and more stability in the region. So others meetings with the others, representatives were and are very important to facilitate the relationship between Egypt and the whole United Nations, assembly, particularly opening, the way how to keep the Palestinians and Israel stable. That relation should be stable and develop, the two-state, resolution. So Shukri actually tackled all that issues with different ministers here in New York, and I think he did a great job in his meeting here in New York.
Yes, also Dr. Singer on the sidelines, and in the last day of his visit to New York, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri met with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. That was a very important meeting. Could you give us your point of view or insight concerning this meeting, as Shukri have thanked Guterres for the efforts exerted by the UN in many fields?
Yeah, Egypt, one of its success and its foreign policy following, the standards of United Nations, and Egypt fully cooperative with United Nations, goals, either in Africa and the Middle East, all over the world. And one of the, the major success in that meeting that Egypt really asking, the support of United Nations to give, Egypt foreign policy more strong steps, keeping peace in the Middle East and Africa and all over the world. And also United Nations in terms of giving like a specific reports about the human rights or the other reports, most of these reports really clear and biased, and not really following, specific country foreign policy. So what I mean here, that Egypt really concerned to keep its relation with the United Nations in a very outstanding relationship.
Yes.
For future foreign policy or for future stage foreign policy.
Yes. Also, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry spoke of the Ethiopian dam. Also, the sideline talks touched the Libyan file concerning the roadmap agreed by parties in Libya, including the holding elections and forming a government also in Libya. Could you give us an idea about this?
Sure. Since all these crises, rise in the region, the Renaissance Dam, Libya crisis, and the other crises like, the food crisis, arms or arms race crisis. So basically, Sameh Shoukry, in his way of clarifying, the Libya, crisis, he promote, what Egypt agreed with the Libyan people in terms of, elections, and give the people of Libya, the right to run their country and protect the Libyan, sovereignty over time. And this is why Egypt really gives his words very clear that Libya should really run its business by their people, not really giving a way of the intervention from other countries can really create instability in Libya. So Egypt really, doing its best, to protecting, the interest of Libya. Basically, Libya is neighboring Egypt, and Egypt cannot really, close its eyes if something is really wrong in Libya, Sudan, and other neighboring countries. This can really reflect bad consequences of Egypt's national security. For Ethiopia down, and for the Renaissance Dam, Shoukry affirmed for all the people who met them here in New York many times that is, water for Egypt or Nile for Egypt is about a life or a die a person. So it means that Egypt cannot really tolerate or giving like some easy that Ethiopia by itself run the dam without really consulting with Egypt and Sudan, and this is should really follow the international law or the way international law managed the international rivers. So basically, Shoukry shown that Egypt was very cooperative with Ethiopia, showing it is interest, to run dams and building new dams under the new measurements that can really, all the scientific people can really accept in terms of, the building dams, particularly on Nile. And this is a really important issue for Egypt. And I think, the international powers, United States particularly, and some of the big countries in Europe, they really accepting now the point of Egypt rather than just keep this issue very open, can really escalate for future conflict. And I think United States is not really interested in seeing a new conflict in this region, which is East Africa or Horn of Africa.
Yes, I thank you so much for your valuable information and for your time, Dr. Ashraf Singer, Professor of International Relations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is